I tested 36. Actually, editor Emily, insert the correct number of products here because knowing me, that's bound to be wrong. Of the most popular new beauty launches to give you brutally honest, no BS reviews of every single one. My goal in making these videos is to help you sift through the ever-growing noise on social media to figure out which, if any, of these new launches is actually worth your money. So to do that, like always, I'll be including swatches, application footage, and wear tests that I've been capturing over the last several months. Because I don't know about you, but a 30-second TikTok of someone applying a new product for the very first time kind of tells me nothing about how that product actually performs. Which is exactly why I capture all of that footage for you guys and do a ton of preparation for this video so that we can dive into every single detail you need to know in order to make an informed purchasing decision. It's gonna be a long one, these always are. Let's do this. Oh, also, the hair. I obviously never wear my hair like this normally, but I saw a bun tutorial that was going viral on TikTok that I really wanted to try because I also wanted to take a little break from heat today. So I was like, this could be a good time to give it a go. And now I'm wondering if that was the wrong decision because I'm like, does this look like a 2009 prom updo? I typically don't cover skincare in these videos because there's usually so much to cover with makeup that we just don't have time. But there's one skincare product that I wanted to make sure I mentioned in this video because it's something that I told you guys I was buying during the Sephora VIP sale. It is the new Shark Cryo Glow Mask, which is a combination of LED light therapy and under eye cryotherapy. I was really intrigued by this mask because the technology sounded really promising. One of the things I was most excited about was the fact that it had both red, infrared, and blue light all in one mask. And I also liked the idea of having an under eye cryo feature for depuffing. I just thought all of that sounded really intriguing, and because I don't already own a blue light mask or any sort of cryotherapy device, I wanted to purchase it and give it a go. So the technology itself is not what I have a problem with, it's the execution of it that I do. The first issue that I had with this mask is that I found it to be pretty uncomfortable to wear because of the sheer weight of it. It just was really pressing down on my face, not only for like the full mask in total, but especially where those metal plates are for the cryo feature. That especially just made it feel even heavier. I felt like it was squishing the skin under and around my eyes and just overall was not comfortable to wear. Like so heavy that after only wearing the mask for 6 minutes, I had dents all over my face just from it pressing on my skin. And I'm not sure if it was because of how heavy the mask was or maybe just something about the design of the mask itself, but I felt like I was having a difficult time breathing in it, which is never an issue that I've had with a light therapy mask before. On top of that, my initial suspicion was correct that the cryo plates under your eyes do completely prevent any LED light from they complete your under eyes from getting any LED light exposure, which is one of the areas that I feel like a lot of people want to target most, given how prone we are to fine lines in that region. Which I suspected would be the case before buying it, but I was hoping that maybe there would be some way to remove them that like just wasn't being widely advertised, and that just unfortunately wasn't the case. And last is if you do want to actually use the cryo feature, this is the noise that you have to listen to the entire time. Which is not necessarily a deal breaker in and of itself. It's just something that I found to be extra annoying given everything else that I was already annoyed about with it. Like, this is so heavy and uncomfortable. I can't breathe, and then I have to sit and listen to that. Maybe it's just me, but I feel like I really like to use my red light sessions as a self-care session as well, where I'm really trying to relax, feel calm, feel comfortable. I usually listen to relaxing music. I might try to meditate. Like, I really try to use that as a decompress time because I don't have much time like that during the day otherwise. So when I'm having like this uncomfortable mask that's pressing on my skin, that's making that whirring noise, I'm like, nothing about this is relaxing. So hopefully Shark improves upon that in the future because again, I feel like the idea, the concept was really spot on. It's just the execution of it that kind of fell flat for me. Speaking of falling flat, let's move on to, well, I guess this is also skincare, but kind of like hybrid makeup skincare because it's a tinted sunscreen. It is the new Beauty of Joseon Daily Tinted Fluid Sunscreen, which they actually sent me in a lot of different shades, which was very kind of them. This is supposed to be a silky, lightweight sunscreen with sheer natural coverage that perfectly balances hydration and oil control. Literally sounds like my perfect kind of sunscreen. Sounds made for me. The sunscreen filter in this is zinc oxide and it has SPF 40, but outside of that, there aren't really any inactive ingredients to call out. They actually don't even highlight any at all on their website, at least on the US version of their website that I'm seeing, but it is fragrance and essential oil free. This comes in 12 shades, and the one that I felt was the best match for me is LN110, which is like a perfect light neutral shade. Did I just say neutral? Light neutral shade. Light neutral shade. Light neutral shade. Neutral. Help. The texture of this sunscreen looked so promising at first. It's super fluid, it's runny, it's everything that I usually love in a sunscreen, but upon immediate application, I was like, oh, this is probably not going to be something that I love because it feels so greasy. And I feel like I've tested a lot of products recently where I'm like, oh, it feels a little bit oily, but it's not to the point of being straight up greasy. This is to the point of being straight up greasy. Like, it's gross. With one layer of this sunscreen, the coverage is very sheer, and you can boost the color coverage a little bit if you apply a second layer, but overall I would say that this is still very much a sheer tinted sunscreen, which is obviously not a bad thing. I know that a lot of people really enjoy that in a tinted sunscreen, but if you were hoping for a little bit more color coverage, this is not going to be the one for you. This has a dewy finish that from a distance I think looks really pretty, but up close you will see that it actually does dry down streaky, so it's something you have to be really precise with when blending, otherwise you can have that uneven blend. And the last thing that I don't enjoy about this, that is arguably one of the worst features, is the fact that it does not fully set when it dries down. I mean, I say that in quotes because it doesn't really dry down for me. Not only do I just feel that oil sitting on my face, like I can feel the fact that it hasn't set, when I go in to just lightly touch it with my fingers, it transfers, it comes right off, it just like picks up the oil. So not only is something that just is not at all for me personally, kind of just like a fail all around, it's also something that I feel really doesn't match the product description, which makes it all that more disappointing. I will say that I did see some comments from some of you saying that the US version and the Korean version of these sunscreens are different, and that would make sense because I also saw several reviews saying that this actually dried down to look and feel kind of powdery, and that's the opposite of the experience that I had. So I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case. Because Beauty of Joseon did send this to me, I'm not 100% sure which version I got, but the bottle does say made in Korea. So this is not one that I would personally recommend if you are on the hunt for a really amazing tinted sunscreen. I am going to list 2 tinted sunscreen showdowns that I have in the description box below. One is a high-end version, one is a drugstore version. You will definitely find some better alternatives to this in that video, those videos, because there's 2. Moving on to a skin tint that is dirty. This is the new Milk Makeup Hydro Grip Gel Tint, which is supposed to be a long-wear hydrating skin tint wrapped in a weightless gel base. Standout ingredients in this include hyaluronic acid, which is supposed to be a triple-powered hyaluronic acid, niacinamide, blue agave extract, black tea ferment, squalane, shea butter, sunflower seed oil, allantoin, and it's fragrance and essential oil free. It's available in 15 shades, and I have shade 2, which I feel is a little bit too light for me, but I can make it work. They describe this as a fair shade with neutral undertones, which I would agree with. It's interesting that they call the texture of this a weightless gel base because it's actually quite thick and pasty. If you watched my Sephora VIB sale haul, then you saw my first impression of the texture of this. I was just not expecting it to feel that pasty. And the more that you use, the thicker and pastier that it starts to feel. So it's the type of product that you definitely want to start with less of and then build from there if needed. I prefer applying this with a sponge because of the texture. Not only is it thick, but it is pretty stiff, so it's just not the most seamless to blend with fingers. I get a very nice blend with a sponge, no issues there. And after applying, I have to say that I was actually shocked by how much I liked the look of this skin tint. I think that it looks really pretty. It has this nice glow to it, but it's definitely not something that's super dewy or overly wet or greasy looking. I think it just looks fresh and skin-like, and I can build the coverage up to, I would say, light/medium, not like a full medium, but it is slightly buildable. So that level of coverage with the finish I find to be really pretty. I think that it wears well. It's not something that gets overly wet or greasy looking on me as the day goes on. All around, it was something that actually ended up working really nicely for me, which I was not expecting based on how it initially felt. Moving on, we have another skin tint. This is the Makeup Forever Super Boost Perfecting Moisture Boosting Skin Tint. It's described as a hydrating and plumping skin tint with buildable sheer to medium coverage that leaves a radiant, healthy skin finish and non-oily feel. Standout ingredients include polyglutamic and hyaluronic acid, and this one is not fragrance free. It has added fragrance that I wrote down as being like a light citrus floral scent. You know what? This is the exact same smell of the lip gloss that they have that we're going to talk about later. I actually think it smells really nice because it's not too overpowering in skin tint form. Like, it's not not something I continue to get whiffs of as I'm wearing it. And so far I've had zero irritation with this and I've worn it a ton. There are 18 shades in this skin tint and Makeup Forever sent me 2 of them. They sent me shade 1 and shade 5. Shade 1 is for very fair to light skin with neutral undertones and shade 5 is for medium skin with neutral undertones. So neither are a great match for me by themselves, but mixed together, they actually make a perfect shade for me. This also has a little bit of a thicker texture, but it's something that feels less pasty and less like thick gel than milk and more creamy. But applied with a sponge, it doesn't feel heavy on my skin at all, which neither does the milk one. I can't remember if I said that or not. Neither of these feel heavy on my skin. It's just that, you know, when you're swatching, when you're feeling it, it's not super fluid and runny like the Beauty of Joseon sunscreen. And even though this is supposed to have sheer to medium coverage, I don't feel like I can get this built up to medium. I would say it's more sheer to light, maybe also like light/medium, but less than milk. So now that I'm thinking about it, maybe I would say milk is up to almost medium, whereas this is like pretty much still light coverage, but you can get a little bit more than light. Does that make any sense? I do think milk has more coverage than this. But again, it's something that I think looks really pretty, especially paired with the finish, which is just beautiful. It has the perfect amount of radiance to it where it just makes your skin look extra healthy versus making it look highlightery. It doesn't look like that at all. It's just perfect. This isn't something that's going to give you like bulletproof wear by any means. I don't know that anyone would expect to get that from a product like this anyway. For a skin tint and for a creamy moisturizing skin tint, I actually think that it wears well. At first, it was definitely getting too shiny on me by end of day, so I thought that this was going to be something that just like didn't quite work for my skin type, but it actually helped me to figure out my new powder combo that really helps to prevent oils from coming through. I start off with my I start off with my Sigma Soft Focus Setting Powder, and then I'll kind of let that sink in, let it mesh, do other parts of my makeup, and then finish up at the very end with my MAC Blot Powder. Why'd I say that like that? MAC pressed blot powder, just in the areas of my face that tend to get greasier. So like forehead, here around my nose, my chin. That is my new go-to for any product that does end up looking a little bit greasier on me, and it completely fixes the problem of that with this. So another that I actually think is super pretty, I would say if you're torn between Milk and Makeup Forever, Makeup Forever will be for you if you want something that is a little bit more radiant and then also starts to kind of bring a little bit more dew as the day goes on. Whereas Milk will be for you if you want a little bit more coverage and a little bit better oil control with still a glowy but not a radiant finish. Last for all over complexion products is the Lawless Forget the Filler Skin Plumping Line Smoothing Foundation. This is described as a weightless full coverage non-acnegenic foundation that instantly blurs and smooths for a second skin finish proven to reduce the look of fine lines and improve elasticity over time. I always feel suspicious of claims like that for makeup. Am I the only one? I'm just like, I don't have a lot of faith in you to do that. But the ingredients that they call out as being responsible for that, it's actually a trademarked ingredient called Maxi Youth. They also call out vitamin E and glycerin, and this one is fragrance and essential oil free. This is available in 33 shades, and they sent me 3 of them, which are 1F, 2F, and 3F. 1F is described as being very fair with cool neutral undertones, 2F is fair with neutral undertones, and 3F is fair with warm golden undertones. 2F is my perfect shade, right? Yes. The texture of this is creamy at first, but as you blend, definitely starts to kind of go a little bit powdery, not fully, like it's not full cream to powder, but there's a little bit of that happens. It definitely is something that feels light on the skin because of that. Overall, I mean, feels like a traditional foundation, but a nice one at that. You can definitely build this up to full coverage, but if you don't want that like full intense coverage, you can ease it back a little bit to like medium/full. So something that does offer quite a bit of coverage, especially compared to a lot of other products that have launched in the past couple of years, which I think is going to be really exciting for some people and something that a lot of other people are not interested in. It just totally depends on your preference. And I would say that the finish of this is just natural. It's not super matte. It's definitely not something that adds a glow. It just kind of meshes with whatever your natural skin type is. And while I don't necessarily agree that this is super blurring, I do think overall it looks really nice, and that continues to hold up with wear. I think that this wears well on me too. Overall, it's definitely a really nice foundation. It's just not something that I feel like I need to be using every single day. I tend to reach for things that have a little bit less coverage, but I do really enjoy like the finish and the wear and those sorts of elements. So I may keep it and play around with it and try to like even though I was just talking about how I am sick of mixing things. I may try to mix with some things, maybe a moisturizer to sheer it out, maybe some sort of glowy filter primer to see how it works with that. But if you are looking for a foundation that gives you more coverage, that doesn't look super intensely makeup-y, and that wears really well, this would definitely be one worth looking into. Next up, come on down. Why am I the way that I am?
Why are you the way that you are?
We have the new Kosas Revealer Color Corrector, which is supposed to be a full coverage dark circle corrector, brightening and visibly depuffing serum in one that's the fastest way to transform tired eyes. Or so you say. Standout ingredients in this include caffeine, panthenol, acetyl tetrapeptide 5, dipeptide 2, hyaluronic acid, squalane, and it is fragrance and essential oil free. This comes in 5 different shades, and Kosas sent me 2 of them. The first is pink, which is supposed to be for very light to light skin tones, and the second is Illusion. Emily. Illusion.
You're in the freezer? How do you breathe in there? Illusion.
Which is supposed to be for light to medium skin tones. The texture of this is creamy and on the thicker side, so it's not something that you want to over apply, especially because if you do, the color can just be too intense, which is something that I definitely learned the hard way. So I just started applying 1 single dot of this because otherwise I felt like my eyes looked either pink or peach. Not my eyeballs, my under eyes. But even with just that dot, I just felt like I ended up having to add even more concealer than I normally would to offset the fact that my under eye area looked really pink, which is obviously not ideal because you don't want to be caking up product under your eyes. That's not going to look good on anybody. And for something that claims to be full coverage, I don't feel like I get that with this. Like when I compare this to the results that I get with just a regular full coverage concealer, like for example, the CL Conceal and Protect Concealer, I think that this covers dark circles way better for me. Because I didn't like how the pink shade worked, I did want to try out Illusion to see if maybe that would look a little bit better. And I actually do think that the undertone ends up just suiting my skin better, but it obviously is just too dark. And again, I can still see my discoloration through it. Compared to when I am just wearing concealer and I don't have this underneath it, I get maybe a little bit more line settling by end of day, but I think because I only used a small dot of this, it just didn't really impact wear all that much. So that was nice, but other than that, I don't really feel like there was much else about this that I thought performed really well or that I was super impressed by. I just don't think it's the right fit for me. The other concealer that I was really excited to test out is the new IT Cosmetics Do It All Radiant Concealer. This is supposed to be a 4-in-1 serum concealer that plumps, wrinkles, conceals skin imperfections, hydrates dryness, and brightens dull skin. No surprise, as per usual with IT Cosmetics, lots of ingredients to call out here: niacinamide, caffeine, panthenol, vitamin E, hyaluronic acid, adenosine, 2 different peptides, and it is fragrance and essential oil free, which is not that typical of IT Cosmetics. Or at least it didn't used to be. A lot of their OG stuff is very heavily fragranced. There are 26 shades available in this concealer. They sent me Fair Warm and Light Neutral. This has a creamy texture that isn't heavy, but it's definitely on the stiffer side. It's not super like slippy or fluid or anything like that, which I think is totally fine for concealer because then you can really ensure that that coverage stays put. However, I am not a fan of this applicator at all. I think that there's a lot of issues. The first being that I think it wastes a lot of product. I mean, you can't control how much you get out of this twist up nozzle, and I find that it always twists up much more than I would need. I also feel like it's just not the right shape and size for this area. Like it's just a bit too big and bulky for me, so I'm not able to get a really nice seamless blend. So I was just setting this on my skin with the sponge, but not blending with it. I definitely prefer blending with a sponge, which is how I normally apply concealer. And with that application technique, I would say that I get light to almost medium coverage, and it definitely has a radiant finish. Initially, I do think that it looks very beautiful, but once I set it with powder and then like apply the rest of my makeup, I don't know that there's anything about it that I think stands out compared to other concealers that I really love. While I don't experience any major creasing or line settling with this, I did notice that even in testing several different mascaras with this concealer, I almost always ended up with mascara smudges under my eyes. And that is not an issue that I normally have with just my go-to products, so I do definitely think that it's because of this concealer in some way. And the other thing that I noticed about it at end of day was just that I felt like like I could really see my dark circles more than usual. Part of that is going to be because there's a little bit less coverage than I'm used to, but I also feel like the coverage did just fade a little bit, so I noticed it even more. So for the way that I wear makeup, I don't think that this concealer is the right fit for me and my preferences, but I could still see people really enjoying this. Like maybe if you just wanted to wear it by itself with a light skin tint, if you're someone that can get away with not powdering makeup, especially under the eyes, then I think you would probably like this a lot better than me. All right, let's move on to bronzer, blush, and highlight. First up, we have the new Rare Beauty Liquid Contour, which is supposed to be a weightless, easy to blend liquid contour that defines and enhances for a naturally lifted look that lasts. There are only 7 shades in this, so I wasn't able to find something that I felt was the perfect match for me. I did pick up Gentle, which is described as a cool taupe for fair skin. I did look at Mellow when I was in stores, but I was worried it would end up pulling a little bit too orange on me, which is why I settled on this one despite not having cool skin. But I'm wondering now if that might be a better fit for me, so I may end up trying that because I feel like this by itself is slightly muddy depending on the complexion product that I pair with it. The texture of this is light and slippy, and compared to, I'm gonna swatch her liquid blush because I know a lot of people are familiar with that texture. I'd say that it actually feels just like a tiny bit more oily, but this isn't something that feels super greasy on my skin at all, just as I'm like swatching here side by side. I find this very easy to work with. I feel like it's just one of those products that seamlessly blends. It's really nice. The pigment is buildable, but you can definitely build this up to a point where even once you set it with powder, you have enough pigment that comes through. You don't need to like reapply on top of powder. I feel like it's the plenty amount of pigment for me. What? I feel like it's the perfect level of color payoff for me personally. Before setting with powder, this definitely has a glowier finish, and then that does get toned down a bit once you set with powder, but even still, I think it looks really nice. And it wears great. So overall, this is something that I'm really impressed with. I've really been enjoying. I recommended it to you guys in my Sephora VIB sale top picks video when I talked about the new beauty launches I was really excited about. It's just something that I'm like, yeah, it's really good. You can't deny it. Next up, we have a blush that actually relaunched, I believe within the past year. I don't think it was super recent. I just decided to pick it up a couple months ago, so I thought I'd include it in this video. It is the new MAC Glow Play blush, which did exist already. It's just they reformulated it. So I reviewed this a few years ago, and now this is what they say. It is a bouncy buildable blush that provides glowy color in a lightweight formula with skin conditioning ingredients. So they say that the upgrade was to add those skin conditioning ingredients, including jojoba and grapeseed oils and vitamin E, for a comfortable and oh so smooth application. It comes in 13 shades, and I picked up 2 shades, including Blush Please, which is a neutral light mauve, and True Harmony, which is a muted rose beige. Actually, the reason why I was inspired to buy this reformulation in the first place was because of this True Harmony shade. There's a creator, I don't know the name of this account off the top of my head. If I can think of it, I'll add it in the video, but there's a creator on TikTok who does a lot of reviews on blushes that you can also use as bronzer. And this was one of the ones that I saw and I was like, wait, that looks like that would be perfect for lighter skin tones. And it really is. It's something that you could use both as blush and bronzer all at once or just one or the other. It's pretty and definitely very unique to my collection.
Oh, hi. Did you want to come up and say hi? Meow. Oh, honey, how are we? Say hi to everybody. You're so sweet. I love you. How are you doing?
This has a putty-like texture that's very silky and cushiony and reminds me exactly of one of my absolute favorite blushes, the Apu Juicy Pang Jelly Blusher, which is why I actually shared this in my most recent favorites video because I feel like it's a really good alternative to that if you were not able to find a shade in that blush collection that worked out for you because there was only 5 shades, I think. And there's obviously a lot more in this MAC range than that. Similar to that Juicy Pang blusher, this also is feather light. So yes, it's like putty and cushiony, but so lightweight. It has buildable coverage that you can work from sheer up to medium, and it has a naturally glowy finish that has almost that like diffused airbrush look to it. It's really beautiful, and I feel is kind of like the perfect in between for a more matte powdery blush and a more dewy, creamy, liquidy blush. I wouldn't say that it's the most long wear blush ever. Like there are definitely blushes that last longer for me, but I think what it lacks in super long wear, it makes up for in just how beautiful it looks on the skin. And I mean, if you're wearing this for like 5-6 hours, it'll still look really pretty then. It's just when you get to those longer extended periods of wear, it's probably not going to be the blush to go for if that Nailsy hair on my face is the main thing that you're after. Next up is a new Tower 28 Get Set Blur and Set Matte Powder Blush. This is described as the first ever setting blush, combining the benefits of a setting powder with a richly pigmented blush for 12-hour fade-proof color and blurred skin. It's available in 6 different shades, and Tower 28 kindly sent me all of them so I can swatch them for you. The first is, what are you? Malibu Cooler, which is a cool baby pink. Then we have Feliz Fresca, which is a warm hot pink. Culver Crush, which is a pinky peach. Long Beach Iced Tea, which is an earthy rosy pink. Samo Spritzer, which is a rosy mauve. Sawtell Slushy, a rose. And, oh wait, okay, so those were the 6 original shades, but now they have this new shade on their site called Pally Punch. I do not have this one. This is a lavender blush. Oh my god, that looks stunning on deeper skin. I don't think that would look so good on me, but beautiful on the model here. I think that all of the shades are really fun for the first launch, but a lot of them are very bright and punchy, so I would absolutely love to see some softer shades in the future because this is a blush that I actually think is so nice. So the texture of it is very dense and soft, and it's highly pigmented, so you really only need a small amount. It's something that blends out really nicely for me, you know, with a little bit or if I add more, so you definitely can build up if you want to, but I mean, if you're someone that doesn't want like a crazy pigmented blush, may I suggest less is more. For once, I actually agree that this does have a blurring quality to it. I think it has this gorgeous, soft, blurred matte finish on the skin. So pretty. It's something that wears really well, so compared to like the MAC blushes, this is a true longwear blush. So for a product category that's already heavily built out, like there are a million powder blushes, this is definitely one that I think performs well enough to like warrant the new launch, which I don't feel you can say all that often these days with the millions of new launches there are. So again, hopefully we see even more shades of this in the future because I think that's like the only thing that would hold someone back from purchasing this that wants a blurring matte powder blush. Like obviously if you want a liquidy, creamy, extra dewy blush, this won't be for you, but us oily girls need something like this every now and then. I'm holding Sweet Baby Princess on my lap right now, so I'm gonna try to hold up these products with one hand as best I can so as not to disturb her comfort. Hi, sweetie. Say also launched a powder blush, but this is completely different from Tower 28. So this is their Super Suede Powder Blush, which is described as a super luxurious and super plush Super Suede Baked Powder Blush. They say it's the new standard for baked powder blush because it's hand whipped and baked using time-honored Italian techniques. Okay. It's supposed to have a velvety texture that melts into skin for an impossibly lightweight diffused flush of color with a natural blurred finish. One thing about me, I typically love a baked blush. There are 6 different shades in this collection and Say sent me 3 of them. One I think is really pretty, but the other 2 I just don't think are great matches for me. I definitely would have picked up one of the other 3. So they sent me Stella, which is a bright coral. They also sent Chow, which is a soft golden brown and really pretty, just something that is too orange for me. And then Grazy, which is a bright berry that I think is the best suited for me out of the 3. I would say that this has a typical baked blush texture. It's lightweight, it's soft, but it's not something, you know, like Tower 28 that's super dense and powdery, or like MAC that's a little bit more silky and cushiony. For the most part, it's what you would expect with a baked blush, except for maybe that it's not quite as dry as some of the baked blush formulas I've tried. This has buildable levels of pigment from softer to more intense, and it has a soft highlight effect that actually kind of reminds me of the Essence Pure Nude highlighter, which if you are not somebody that was like a huge OG beauty YouTube watcher, was a highlighter that took the internet by storm years and years ago and is still one of my all-time favorite highlights. It's just so pretty. It's just very soft, diffused, kind of more of a subtle highlight than something that's really intense and has a big pop to it. This Say blush reminds me of that, but like in blush form. And these wear well for me too. So definitely a very nice blush, just not something that I'm going to be reaching for out of these 3 because I'm not obsessed with the shades. The one shade that I feel like I would really love is Mia. So maybe at some point I will pick that up, but at the same time, I'm like, I feel like I've got a million blushes that look just like that. So you know what? I'm gonna say right now that I'm not gonna do that. I don't need it.
I definitely don't need it.
Rare Beauty launched a new blush called the Matte Bouncy Blush. It's supposed to be a cushiony cream to powder blush that gives the dreamiest flush of color with a lasting blurred matte finish. This is similar to MAC Glow Play in the sense that it's also kind of putty-like, definitely does have that slightly bouncy effect, but they're not identical. I would say that MAC has, again, more of that feather light, silky texture, whereas Rare Beauty is a little bit almost like creamier, a little bit more dense, while still being very lightweight. This comes in 7 shades and I picked up the only one that I felt I could pull off. It's Hope, which they describe as a nude mauve. I don't feel that this looks like I mean, I see where they're getting that, but like on my skin, I'm like, I don't know that this looks like a nude mauve. I feel like I get more warm pink than nude mauve. While the texture in the component is a little bit more of a cream putty feel, it's something that goes completely dry when you either swatch or apply it. It really does have that putty to powder like texture. It's again something that you only need a little bit of because it's very pigmented and you can also build it up quite a bit as well. This has a matte finish and I would agree is definitely longer wear, but compared to the other putty-like blushes that I own, which now includes MAC and then Apu, I definitely prefer the look of those. I just think there's something a little bit more skin-like about them than there is this blush, which is totally fine because this was supposed to be a matte blush. So if you're really into a putty-like texture, I totally get it. It is fun to play with and you want that in a matte finish, then this might be right up your alley if you can find a shade that works for you. For me personally, I'm not going to keep it, mostly because I'm just not obsessed with the shade. I think if there was a shade I really, really loved, I would be more inclined to keep it. But again, there are also other putty blushes I like more. The second to last blush is the new Glow Recipe Watermelon Glow Serum Blush. This is supposed to be a tinted cheek serum that plumps cheeks, brightens dark spots, and hydrates while providing a buildable natural flush of color that melts into skin. There are only 2 shades, which are Watermelon Flush, described as a light, cool-toned pink, which I could not agree with less. Like, this just looks straight up coral to me. And then Berry Flush, which is described as a berry mauve, which I do agree with. Both of these have that watermelon scent. Obviously, I know they're part of the Watermelon Glow collection. In this, it's less offensive to me than the e.l.f. watermelon products. Those I just was like, God, it's way too much. This, I still don't love it, but like, it's not as intense as that. These have a gel cream texture that feel very juicy. Like, I really do enjoy the texture of these, and they recommend applying this on top of skincare with your fingers, but I am just not somebody that ever wants to put blush on top of skincare and nothing else. Like, that's just not my journey. I'm either wearing skincare only with no makeup or I'm wearing full makeup. So even though it's not technically how they recommend using this, I did want to see, like, for those people that are more like me and not into blush and nothing else, could we get this to work like any other liquid blush? And I was actually surprised to see that it works really well in that way. It blended perfectly with a brush, had no issues there. And the coverage is buildable, but only up to a certain amount. I would say it's like sheer buildable up to light, and then that's kind of it. Like, you can just tell when swatching it that the base is just significantly less pigmented than something like the Rare Beauty liquid blush. The finish is very juicy, very radiant, and surprisingly not overly wet looking. I thought that that was definitely going to be an issue that I had with this, but it wasn't. I was more so surprised by how radiant it looked when I had this on, and after I had set it with powder, I was like walking by my bathroom and literally was like, oh my God, what highlighter did I put on? My cheeks look so highlighty. And I was like, I did not put highlighter on at all. It's literally from this blush. I will say that was after I kind of built it back up because it did sheer out quite a bit after being set with powder, but I feel like the fact that I could just like go back on top of powder with this, again, really surprised me given that that's not really supposed to be the kind of product this is. I was not expecting the color for this to last at all, so I was like, oh, this is actually pretty decent wear. Like, I thought it would be completely gone and there was still an okay amount of color left by end of day. So I thought that I was gonna hate these, and I do not hate them. They're just not something I need to keep in my collection because it's not the kind of product that like makes sense for me to reach for. I just prefer blushes that have a little bit more pigment than this and that are not quite as highlightery looking. This is a blush that is certainly not new. It's been out for, I feel, a long time now, and something that has been on my list to review for these videos forever, but I just like never got around to it because there's always a million things I'm testing. But they recently launched, I think, 2 new shades because they sent me a little bundle of them in PR. So I was like, okay, this is my sign. It's time to try this. So they now have 6 total shades of this blush, and I have 5 of them. The first is January, which is a cool light pink. The second is Behati, which is a dusty rose. The third is Elodie, which is a hot coral. Giselle, which is described as a rich berry. I don't really feel like that one's berry for me. I feel like it's just more of a hot pink, but it's really fun. And then June, which is a warm burgundy. So the one shade that I do not have is Kirsty, a warm nude. This has a thick cream texture that is more stiff than it is slippy, but it's not heavy, and compared to the concealer, which is a pretty thick cream, I would say that it's like a little bit lighter than that. It's buildable up to full pigment, and it is quite pigmented, but it's easy to blend. Even after setting with powder, I think that the color payoff, the pigment looks really great, and surprisingly the finish does too. I feel like I can still see the glowy finish of this through powder, which I think looks really pretty. So it's definitely a very nice blush compared to the other liquid blushes that I own and love that are not SPF liquid blushes. I don't think that there's anything about this that like I don't already get from those, and I feel like I have shades that I like even better in those products. But obviously the big benefit to this is that it has SPF 50 if that is something that you are looking for. And out of all of the SPF blushes that I can think of off the top of my head that I've tried, I do feel like this one is the best for sure. SPF makeup can like a lot of times be just like actually ugly, and CL is a brand that does SPF makeup beautifully, including a launch that they did recently drop. It is their Glow and Protect SPF 50, so a liquid highlight. This is available in 3 shades and they sent me all 3 of them. The first is Church, which is a gold shade. The second is Piper, which is rose gold. And the third is Penny, which is a copper. Similar to the blush, this is also thick and creamy in texture, but surprisingly it does not mess up my makeup underneath it. I think that you would expect that with a thicker cream texture, but it works somehow. Before setting this with powder, it is so gorgeous. It gives like a glassy finish, which I'm obsessed with. When I put powder in the mix, actually both like with powder underneath or powder on top, because I do still have to set my full face with powder in some way, I kind of lose the glassiness and it becomes more of a diffuse, soft focus glow, which I think is just as pretty, just in a different way. And it also wears well for me, so another win for CL. I don't know that like I would feel I need an SPF 50 highlight, but if that's something that you're really interested in, then this would be one to check out for sure. Last for complexion before we move on to eyes are the new Haus Labs Bio Radiant Glassy Highlighter Balms. This is described as a hydrating multi-use highlighter stick with 64% skincare that delivers a long-lasting, ethereal, glassy glow. It's available in 6 shades and they did send me all 6. The first is Glassy Opal, which is an iridescent pink, Pure Glass, which is clear, Glassy Champagne Quartz, which is champagne gold, Glassy Pink Opal, a rose gold, Glassy Topaz, a golden bronze, and Glassy Citrine yellow gold. I absolutely love the texture of these. They're balmy, they're creamy, they're juicy, they're just buttery. I really love it. They say that you can glide this on your skin without disturbing makeup underneath, but I did not have that experience. I did like the lightest application ever and it still disrupted my makeup. I don't have an issue with that. I don't feel like I need to be able to just glide it directly on my face to want to use it. Like I'm totally fine applying with my finger. And when applying this with my finger, as long as I applied it very, very lightly and just did like little light taps or dabs, I was able to get this to work without disrupting my makeup underneath, both on top of liquid makeup and on top of powder. So definitely not the kind of product that's guaranteed to not mess up your makeup, even though they say that, but it is something that you can work with. What I realized about this is that if I applied it before setting my entire face with powder, it just doesn't quite work. Like I feel like it kind of sticks, and then the rest of the makeup I'm applying also kind of like sticks, and you can see the stripe where that balm was set. So I find that this works best for me as the final step on my face on top of powder. In terms of finish and the overall result, this is pure glass on my skin. And it actually immediately reminded me of a similar product from the drugstore. It's the new L'Oreal Lumi Lait Glass Highlighter Stick, which actually launched first. I feel like this is one of the only times I've seen the drugstore beat high-end in a product category like this in terms of when it launched. So I wanted to do a side-by-side swatch here on camera to see like, do these actually... They're not going to be identical for the shade, but so that's L'Oreal. Yeah, it's just juicy. And then Haus Labs. Haus feels a little bit juicier and more slippery, but the glassy effect is so similar. So if you are interested in something like this, wait, I forgot to mention wear. This wears really great for me on top of powder. I thought it was for sure gonna like melt away and disappear because of how balmy it is, but held up all day. So back to what I was saying, if this is something that you're really interested in, but you're like, I just cannot splurge, then I do think that the L'Oreal sticks are a really nice alternative, but the Haus Labs ones are still beautiful and offer a lot of shades you wouldn't get from L'Oreal. So it can go either way. 2 new mascaras for you guys. One you saw in my most recent favorites videos, one you did not because it's not a favorite. We will start off with the favorite of the 2. It's the Too Faced Ribbon Wrapped Lash Tubing Mascara. It has a wand that looks like it would be a disaster. It's tapered, it has that spiky ball at the end, but it somehow works. This is the kind of mascara that you need to kind of let dry out a little bit because at first it's just a little bit too wet and heavy and it starts to clump. mainly because I feel that actually like this component just doesn't pull enough product off of the wand. So I was just ending up with like too much product glommed on, especially because it was wetter and thicker. So I was having to wipe it off a lot. And then I felt like it was not easy enough to work with at first. So I almost gave up on it, but I'm glad I didn't because now I'm like, oh my God. Once this does dry out a little bit, like after just a few uses, it's so much easier to work with. And it's the only mascara that I can think of right now that gives me amazing results with less product. Like I really don't have to apply much of this. I don't do my same application technique that I do with all of my other mascaras because I just get the length that I want so easily. And the length is the best part of this. I feel like I just get incredible length from this. If the removal process for mascara is what is most important to you, then this may not be something you love because it doesn't come off in little tubes. It does smudge. However, it still is incredibly easy for me to remove. I just do the same thing that I always do. Makeup remover, microfiber towel with some water. And this removes much more easily for me than any other mascara that I own that is not tubing. So I absolutely love this, which says a lot because if you know me, you know I am crazy picky about mascara. Oh my God, I think it's so good. The one I don't think is as good is the new Makeup by Mario Master Mascara. This says it was perfected by Mario after 25 years of artistry, which would like make you think this is gonna be revolutionary or at least something remarkable, and I just don't feel that way about it at all. It has a standard tapered bristle, and the formula itself is one that isn't too thin or too thick, but does lean dry. So I feel like it just doesn't layer the best for me. What I like most about this is that the volume I get is like fluttery and not something that's from a really wet, heavy formula. So I do think that that looks pretty. But other than that, I'm like, the length is average, the separation is average. I do have to go in and actually like physically separate my lashes with a tweezer or something, otherwise it's too clumpy. And it also flakes and smudges on me. So this one didn't work out. All right, we can move on to my absolute favorite category, lips. So I will review the new Dr. Idris barrier-based lip balm. I haven't had enough time yet to properly test out the lip peel or the exfoliating lip serum. So I didn't want to review this one quite yet because I feel like I need to give it time to see if I notice a difference, but I can definitely speak to the balm. I have worn this a ton. Standout ingredients include squalane, shea butter, oat kernel oil, colloidal oatmeal, panthenol, and ceramide NP. And the texture definitely leans thicker. Like when I think about the gazillion lip balms I've tried, it's definitely not thin, but it's also not as thick as something like Ulla Henriksen or Edam, which are like my thick balms. I really enjoy the texture of it. It has a good amount of cush, a little bit of slip, a little bit of tack. It kind of marries those things well, but unfortunately it does burn my lips. It has peppermint oil in it, so you get that kind of minty sensation. And while it's not crazy intense, it's not like the most intense lip plumper you've ever tried or something that like lasts for hours and hours. It's enough to where it irritates my lips, which is such a bummer because I feel like this would be perfectly conditioning if it were not for that. So maybe in the future they would come out with one that just doesn't have any mint at all, but until then this wouldn't be something that I'd repurchase. Oh my gosh. The Rhode Peptide Lip Shape contour. This went pretty viral for disappointing people, and it's interesting to see how the brand describes it. I wish that I had seen their product description before all of that happened. I don't know if they changed it, but on the website, they do not describe this as a lip liner. They say creamier and more seamless than a lip liner. It glides on to create a contoured effect and delivers efficacious ingredients that visibly enhance lip volume. However, in all of the initial marketing, to my understanding, they were just showing this being used like a lip liner. Like I definitely remember seeing a video of Hailey herself putting this on like a lip liner, then putting her peptide treatment on top. I mean, if it looks like a liner and talks like a liner, so I don't know. I don't really think that is that important because whether you're using this as just a liner or all over your lips, I feel the same about it. But before we talk about that, why I initially jumped to buy this is because of the shades. There are 11 different shades and 2 of them I was like, oh my God, these look perfect. The first one is Lift, which is like the most perfect, slightly cool toned pink ever. And then the second one that I got is a little bit deeper and more pinky. It is called Press. Really beautiful as well. This has a creamy texture and it's very pigmented. You definitely get good color payoff with this. But outside of that, the rumors about this are true. It doesn't really dry down, it kind of just stays creamy, which means that it ends up fading kind of quickly. It's something that bleeds on my lips. It just kind of slips and doesn't stay put, which is a huge bummer for something like this because, again, regardless of how you're using it, you want it to stay put a little bit more than that. So I'm actually really sad about these because when I was like first trying them on and looking at the shades, I was like, God, this is gonna be my new favorite lip liner, and now it's not. The other lip liner that I tested out is the new Merit Signature Sheer Lip Liner, which is described as a sheer satin finish soft gel liner available in 8 shades. I picked up the shade Coupe because it was kind of reminding me of that first one from Rhode. I should actually swatch them side by side. Again, like a little cool toned. Ugh, so good. But this one is definitely deeper than Lift from Rhode, which is right here. Not these not looking alike at all. In my defense, I thought that based on what I was seeing online, not in person. Okay, I tried. The texture of this is definitely different. It's like a soft, creamy gel. It's definitely softer and glides better than Rhode. I actually feel like I get good color payoff with this. It's not something that I would consider to be sheer on myself, which I'm glad about because I didn't realize it was supposed to be sheer when I bought it. And it has like a sheeny, satiny finish, which I think is pretty, but I know is not everybody's favorite in a lip liner. I think for a lot of people, they just want a matte finish for the lip liner and then can add gloss in the middle, which I get. While this is not something that like immediately melts away, it's also definitely not a long wear lip liner. They don't claim that it is, so that's fine. But I think at this point, like if I'm reaching for a lip liner, it's because I want it to be something that I don't need to reapply often. So it kind of just makes this a pass for me. Oh my God. These freaking things. Next are the Laneige Glaze Craze Tinted Lip Serums. This is described as a nourishing tinted lip serum with donut-inspired shades and flavors for visibly plump lips with a buildable high shine finish. These feature ingredients like pomegranate seed oil, squalane, ceramide NP, a soybean polypeptide, polyglutamic acid, and hyaluronic acid, and they are now available in 8 different scents and shades, and I got 5 of them. The first is Strawberry Sprinkles, which is a cool pink, and I don't know that I really smell strawberry from this, maybe like a tiny bit, it just mostly smells sugary to me. Then we have Peach Glaze, which is a peachy coral and smells like peach sugar, kind of that peach ring scent, but just not as offensive as some other products that smell like that. Sugar Glaze is a nude beige that I think smells like toasted brown sugar. Cinnamon Sugar is a mauve pink that smells like straight up cinnamon sugar. And Raspberry Jam is a sheer red that has like a sweet fruit-like scent, but again, I don't think it smells particularly raspberry-like to me. The applicator, which literally I feel like was only created to go viral, definitely feels nice to apply. Like I like the cushy feel, it's fun, but it's also not the most practical because it doesn't make it super easy to like get in your lip lines evenly. And for how pigmented some of these are as you build them, that just makes it a little easy to get messy. The texture of this is creamy but light, kind of like a serum cream hybrid, and it really transforms as you build it. The more that you layer, the more pigment that you get and the more shine that you get, and you can build this up to be high shine. The only one that is a little bit different, I personally think, is Cinnamon Sugar. For whatever reason, that one seems to have a more pigmented base straight away, so like you get full pigment with just a light layer, whereas the other ones are a bit lighter in pigment at first unless you build them up. So once it's built up, I love the effect on my lips. Like I love high shine, you guys know that. I love how they kind of smooth over lines. I just don't love any of the shades, at least built up like that. I do think that some of these look really pretty with just more of a sheer layer, but that's actually where I have an issue with these because I started to realize that while I really enjoyed the texture at first, with longer wear towards the end of wear, they start to feel kind of oily. And if I only apply a light layer so I can get more of that like subtle sheer color payoff, I start to feel that oily texture pretty quickly. So that makes this just like something I don't want to reach for because I have a lot of other sheer lip products that don't feel like that in shades that I love a lot more as well. These do give me surprisingly good wear time for the type of product that this is. They're definitely not nearly as conditioning as like their lip balm, which doesn't surprise me. But overall, I do think that this is a solid product. Do I think that it is like worthy of the crazy level of hype that it got? No, but it's definitely pretty. It's fun to use. The scents smell really good. If you can find a shade that works for you, like I think you'll enjoy this. Unfortunately, I just couldn't for me. Makeup Forever launched a new gloss called the Super Boost Lip Gloss, and this is supposed to be hyaluronic acid infused, also has camellia oil, cottonseed oil, and meadow foam seed oil for all-day moisture, mirror-like shine, and it's supposed to have a comfortable and cooling plump effect. This comes in 11 different shades. 8 of them are described as being high shine, but I would just say that those are the ones that have more opaque color, whereas the other 3 have a shimmery finish. So we have a completely clear shade called Crystal, a peachy beige called Latte Glaze, a warm caramel called Anywhere Caffeine, a rose called Wherever Walnut, a coral called Juicy Peach, a brick called Fiery Love, a berry pink called Boundless Berry, and a bright pink called Daring Candy. And then for the shimmers, we have a holographic gold and pink shimmer called Fairy Glimmer, a holographic violet and blue shimmer called Festival Lilac, and a chocolate with cool bronze shimmer called Limitless Brown. That one, oh my god, is so beautiful. I wish that I could wear that, but that's not gonna work for me. These feel very thick, soft, balmy, and slightly tacky. So as you can imagine, I really enjoy everything about applying these except for the smell/taste. Because while there is definitely mint, which you would expect with the cooling description, it also smells and tastes like something floral mixed with that. So it's like floral mint, which is the strangest combination. And it was the kind of thing that lingered. So like at first I was like, oh, it'll be fine. But I felt like this was making me like a little sick to my stomach the longer that I wore it, which is so sad because I not only loved the feel of them, but I love the high shine finish. Definitely has that line deleting effect. Like, oh my god, it's the wettest, juiciest, glassiest pout, which is why I feel like I still really love these despite them being a bit more pigmented than I feel like I usually gravitate towards in a gloss. I also feel like these last longer than a lot of lip glosses that I own, so I'm so bummed about the smell and taste because it's strange enough for me to not want to reach for it. Everything else about these is so great, and that ruins it. Next up, we have something I obviously had to buy, the new Makeup by Mario Super Shine Lip Gloss in some of the most gorgeous shades I have seen launched in a lip gloss ever, which we'll get to in a second, but this is supposed to be a super shiny lip gloss that quickly hydrates for lasting comfort and a glass-like finish. It has hyaluronic acid, pomegranate extract, and jojoba oil, and is available in 11 shades, which all have sheer to light levels of pigment, and again, are just perfection. I picked up Perfect Pink, which is perfectly named. It is the most gorgeous pink ever. Slightly cool toned, but predominantly neutral. Oh my god, I'm obsessed. And I also picked up Rose Water, which is a little bit lighter and more sheer than Perfect Pink. These are on the thicker side, but they're not too thick. I feel like they have the perfect amount of cush for being a lip gloss. And they have, oh my god, the most delicious vanilla cake-like fragrance. I mean, you already know. I don't even have to say what that means to me. And they have beautiful shine. So at first I was like, oh my god, I'm obsessed with these. The cush, the color, the shine, the smell. It was as if somebody designed a lip gloss just for me until I wore it for longer. It just starts to get kind of tacky and gummy on my lips and kind of like, how do I describe this? You know that like gloppy thing you get on the inside of your lips? That happens to me with these relatively quickly. They just don't last very long at all. And while I don't need a lip gloss to be super long lasting, it was enough with that kind of like gloppy effect to where I was like, okay, crap. These are not quite what I was thinking that they were gonna be. Like, for how amazing it started out, I was like, I'm sad. Obviously that happens with a lot of lip glosses, so it's not surprising or anything. I think I don't know, I maybe thought that these would be a little bit something different for being a lip gloss that you're launching in 2025, but maybe what's so special about these is everything I just described, and they're like, sorry, we couldn't get that to work with a longer wear formula. So if that doesn't bother you and you're just like, don't care, I want the shades and the shine, I totally get it. But otherwise, I feel like that would probably be a deal breaker for quite a few people. Merit recently launched a third version of their lip oil, which is called the Sheen Collection. And what I did not realize when I bought this is that they actually updated the formula. So they say it provides more cushion and longer wear. And with that, the ingredient highlights changed a bit. Now they highlight squalane and quinoa seed oil. Unfortunately, the packaging is still the same, which is the worst part about this. Like, god, I just hate this packaging, the tiny little applicator. It just could be better for what you're paying. So there are 4 shades in this new formula, and the one that I am trying on here is Twin Set, which is a rosy mauve with light to medium pigment. The texture of this is absolutely an upgrade to the original. I'm actually working on an updated lip oil showdown right now, and in doing so realize how much I just don't love their original lip oil formula, but this one is significantly better. It's thicker, it's less oily, oily and it's more cushy. So I'd probably describe the texture of this as like a balmy gel, which I really enjoy. The one thing that confuses me with this is the finish, because the whole reason they launched this is because it's supposed to have a pearlescent finish. And in the packaging, I don't know if you'll see on camera, but you can see that they added these like pearly pigments, but that's just not really something that translates on my lips. Like I just don't notice any sort of sheeny, radiant finish. It just kind of looks glossy to me. I don't know, maybe that's just me. I also agree that this definitely lasts longer than their original lip oil. I think now it has, you know, good lasting time compared to others that I've tried. So overall, this is something that I actually really enjoy when I don't want something that's super thick, because I don't always want that if I'm applying something that has color. Like sometimes if it's too thick and has color, it's just messy. I just hate the packaging. It's like I don't want to use this because of the packaging. So maybe someday they'll update that. Next was also included in my last favorites video. It's the new Comfy Lassie Lips Staining Lip Oil. So they describe this as a smooth staining lip oil that goes on glossy. I don't think this is a lip oil at all. I think it's kind of similar to the Rare Beauty lip oil that's really a stain. This is available in 9 shades, and they actually recently launched 3 new shades, which is why I ended up purchasing it, because the original shade range just didn't have anything that suited me. But when I saw this color, which is sweet, a cool dusty pink, I was like, I need. Such a beautiful color. I love it so much. And while I don't agree that this feels like an oil, I actually think that's a good thing. I really like the texture of this way more than I would a true oily lip product. Kind of has like a light gel cream texture, and I think buildable pigment. Either way it stains, but you can definitely wear this a bit softer if you would want, or build it up to have more bold color payoff. And while I don't agree that this looks glossy on me, I actually really love the finish. I think it's just really sheeny and pretty. And the staying power is great. It definitely lasts a really long time. Absolutely stains. I've worn this through meals and it lasts. Super impressed with this. Really, really excited to have it in my collection, because I feel like this is like a shade paired with this formula that I needed in my life. Summer Fridays came out with how many? 4 new shades in their lip oil. And I have reviewed their lip oil before. It's not my personal favorite. It's not bad. It's just like not my absolute favorite lip oil. But I know that some of you really enjoy these, so I still wanted to swatch the new shades for you in case you were interested in picking them up. So these lip oils contain castor, rosehip, shea, avocado, apricot kernel, jojoba, squalane, grapeseed, and raspberry seed oils. And I would describe the texture of these as being a little bit slippy, creamy, and somewhere in between thin and thick. So they definitely feel nice. No major complaints there. I mean, I do have lip oils that I prefer even more, but the thing that I remember not loving about these is that they actually had more pigment than I was expecting, especially given that they're described as being sheer. And then that paired with the colors that they had, I felt like I was like, I just don't love how these are looking. So I'm curious to see how that translates with their new shades. So this is Bare Sand, which is described as a sheer neutral sand. I would say that that one is definitely more sheer than what I remember of some of the others. Then Rosebud, which they describe as a sheer cool pink, and it is sheer. That one's cute. It kind of looks lilac-y. Then we have Warm Beige, which is a sheer warm beige, and Midnight Berry, which is the only one out of the 4 that says semi-sheer, and then Warm Berry. There we have it. So if you're a fan of the Summer Fridays lip oil and were interested in some of the new shades, hopefully that helps. Last but certainly not least for lips, I was so excited to get this in the mail. Lawless came out with a new strawberry collection in their Forget the Filler gloss, which is one of my all-time favorites. So they came out with 3 shades that are all supposed to have a strawberry sugar flavor, and I have been addicted to strawberry scented products ever since I discovered the EOS strawberry body lotion, and this kind of reminds me of that, but like a little tamer. I know that that one's a lot for some people, but it's that same kind of thing. So good. The first shade is Strawberry Milkshake, which is described as a milky soft pink. Absolutely not my kind of color. And I feel like they already have several shades like this that are just such a light pink where it's almost like a little scary. So I'm like, why do we need another one of those? Can we have other kinds of shades? The second is Strawberry Shortcake, which they describe as a pearly pink, but I would say is kind of just like a nude warm tone pink. And then my favorite is Strawberry Popsicle, which they describe as a sheer pink, and I think is just deep enough to not look scary on me like that first one. So I love the idea of a strawberry collection and they smell incredible, but I feel like this would have been a good opportunity to do like some deeper pinks and reds and things like that versus a lot of what I feel like we already have from them. But I am still obsessed with this gloss, so if one of these shades looks like it'd be a good match for you, you, I would recommend. We have made it to the final category, which is fragrance slash body care. Mostly fragrance. There's just one launch that also has a body cream paired with it, which we can just start off with. It is the new Patrick Ta Major Glow Hair and Body Fragrance Mist, High Shine Skin Perfecting Body Cream, and actually something I haven't tested yet, but they also did add a Major Glow Nourishing Bronzing Body Oil in this collection. I haven't tried this for obvious reasons. I fear for what would happen if I put that on my skin. We'll give this a go in the summer. The smell of this is beautiful and really not like anything else that I own. It's like luxe but light, not overwhelming, and the fragrance notes are bergamot, jasmine, warm sugar, amber, moss, and sandalwood. So they describe it as being softly sensual, which I feel is like actually the perfect description. Oh, it's good. Like any fragrance mist, this definitely is not long lasting. A tip that I have to make it last longer is to either spray it in with a fragrance-free body cream. I guess you wouldn't need to do that here because they have a body lotion paired with it, or spray it in your hair. This body cream is so beautiful. I'll show you the texture here. It's rich, it's silky. It like reminds me of whipped cream or something. It's just a really beautiful texture and it definitely feels elevated, which it should because it's $58. Super expensive, but obviously this is not meant to be a drugstore brand. So while I do really love how these smell, I don't think that I would have purchased these myself because I did get them in PR. I feel like it's the type of thing where I would have smelled it and been like, yeah, it's so nice, but like, I don't need to spend that on a body cream when there are others that I really love that cost a lot less. Who knows? Maybe I'll use these up and decide that I permanently want them in my life. They do have gorgeous packaging, so that is a plus for that freaking steep price point. So if this is something you were wanting to splurge on, I don't think you'll be disappointed at all. It is really a beautiful experience all in all, but obviously not something you need to splurge on. I actually think this would make a really beautiful gift, like a gift set like this, or maybe you did the body oil instead of the mist. Like that's the kind of thing I could see this being worth the money for. Or if you're just somebody who likes luxe, I get it. I'm not here to judge. Glossier launched a third, I think, is it a third edition to their You fragrance collection? So I bought the last one, which is that like dark pink packaging. I really enjoy that. This is their latest and greatest. It is Glossier You Fleur. It's a fresh floral with notes of ylang ylang, apricot skin, and ambrox. I feel like it's like a spicy fresh floral. Like I get a little spice from this in a nice way. And it's something that's definitely more faint than a lot of my other perfumes. So I feel like I have to spray a lot to really get the smell. But when I do that, I do think that it actually lasts pretty well. It's not something that fades super fast. And while I like the smell, it's just not a personal favorite for me. Like there are just others that I want to reach for more than this, especially when I'm thinking of floral or springy fragrances. I would rather reach for Delina. I would rather reach for Fleur Father Figure. Like those are things that I definitely like better than this, but it still is nice. I feel like if you're someone that like typically gravitates towards floral, you would enjoy this for something a little bit different. Speaking of Delina, I did not even need to look up whether or not this was supposed to be a Delina dupe. I just knew from the second I sprayed it. I'm like, oh, that's what you're trying to do. This is described as being a warm floral with notes of black currant, rose, and cashmere wood. And while it is very reminiscent of Delina to me when I first spray it, it's definitely not an exact dupe for it. I feel like this one's a little softer and maybe like a little more woody, whereas Delina is more punchy and bright to me. So I would actually say that this would be a nice one for people to try that feel like Delina's too intense for them, but this does not last for even a little bit on me. This fades like essentially instantly, which is interesting because that's not an experience that I typically have with Fleur perfumes. Like my favorites from them definitely last better than this. So this isn't one I can recommend. Another rose fragrance that dropped recently is the Kayali Fleur Majesty Rose Royale, which has key notes of juicy pear, sweet peach, rose royale, pink peony, violet wood, and purple musk. At first I thought like, oh, they're trying to dupe Delina as well, but to me this like doesn't smell anything like it. So maybe they weren't. And I pretty much disliked this immediately upon spraying it. I just don't love anything about it. Again, I don't think this smells like Delina at all. So if you were hoping for that, I would not purchase this. There's something about this that I can't quite put my finger on that it starts to smell like on my skin. I'm like, it almost has like kind of like a licorice-y smell, but there's no licorice in this. So that doesn't make sense. I'm like, what is that I'm smelling that I like can't figure out? I don't know. It's just definitely not my kind of fragrance. We'll say that. And last is another Kayali fragrance that I was so excited about. It's called Yum Bougie Marshmallow. Come on, that's right up my alley. It has notes of freesia, strawberry, pink marshmallow, creamy coconut, whipped vanilla, and pink musk. Oh, like that sounds perfect. Ugh, I hated this. Sorry. I apologize if this is a favorite of yours. Obviously, we all have different tastes, but as a gourmand lover, like someone who loves marshmallow scents, cream scents, sugary scents, this is yuck to me. It's just too sweet for me and like doesn't really give me anything else. I feel like there's no other layers to this that I pick up, no depth, no nothing. It's just all this like intense sweet scent. Both of these Kayali fragrances faded extremely quickly for me, which I guess in my case is a good thing since I didn't love them, but definitely not long lasting. I feel like I'm gonna break something right now. All right, that is it for yet another giant new beauty launch review. I really hope that you found this helpful, and if you did, it would mean so much to me if you could give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, click on that notification bell, and send my channel to a friend. These videos are incredibly time consuming to put together and for editor Emily to edit, so your support means the world. Thank you so much for that. Thank you for watching my videos. I love the freaking heck out of you guys. Make sure to stay tuned for my next one because that will be up next week, but until then, I hope you have a great week.